Very good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Kun Prin, for the very comprehensive synopsis. Actually, is the outline of some of which I'll be speaking. I may spend like half an hour, if possible. Stop me if I talk too much. I think to start off, let me say that Thailand is not any different from many countries around the world, that we are struggling to do better. And in my portfolio, the society has high expectation that digital will bring prosperity, will bring business, and will bring quality of life to the people of Thailand and beyond, meaning we can work with our neighboring countries like CLMB, for example. This is a heavy burden to me, but at the same time, I can see a vast area of opportunities where we can work with the private sector in order to make not only the development of digital technology, but more importantly, digital technology for development. This is very, very important. Let me give you one example of the initiative that we are designing. I've been in this ministry for 2 months, and the first week I saw a number of opportunities that we can offer to the public. And that's why the name of this ministry is Digital Economy and Society. So it's a big coverage indeed. They told me that before I came, a large budget has been secured so that the agency within the ministry would lay fiber optics to 24,700 villages throughout Thailand, which is about 1/3 of Thailand. In Thailand, we have about 74,000 villages. Okay. So this is a scale-up kind of activity for the first time. Before, we usually talk about pilot projects, project in this and that region, in this and that province. Not anymore. So I seized that opportunity to look into how we can build value addition to this superhighway. And it's all broadband for the first time. We're not talking about copper line anymore. We're talking about fiber optics. And more importantly, we can address how the private sector can participate at the last mile activities of these fiber optics. So to start with, we will spend at most, and this is by policy, at most 12 months to finish this project. 12 months for 24,700 villages. Okay. What I am adding to this superhighway is to put in value addition framework into this fiber optics. Number 1, e-commerce. Number 2, e-health. And number 3, e-government service. Okay. So hopefully next year we are going to see digital technology that provide digital bridge, and we can stop talking about digital divide. After all these decades of worrying about digital divide, for the first time, en masse. Okay. Now let me clarify a little bit about my intention for e-commerce for village level, which I think is crucial for the context of Thailand. We have been developing the country for the past few decades, emphasizing just the central role of development. Now it's time to spread it out throughout the country. And if, for the first time also, my observation is, previously I was in Ministry of Science and Technology, and we promote a lot of innovation, especially technology development. You name it, biotechnology, materials, nanotechnology, and so on. But it's difficult when you compare with digital, because at village level, people use digital technology. They don't use nanotechnology, right? So with that framework, we can do much more with digital development at the very micro level for the first time. Okay, so we are trying to seize this opportunity, and we are not going to do it alone. We certainly would invite the private sector to join us. For example, for the e-commerce platform, many of you may know that we have been for many decades now promoting the so-called OTOP products, meaning the products at the local level, village level. Some good, some not so good, that's okay. Things can improve, But the highway to make it happen for these villages to sell their products can be created this year, next year, okay? And prosperity can be scattered, not focused on the Bangkok or big cities. There are three components of e-commerce. One is e-marketplace, and I think a lot of companies can jump in to provide e-marketplace, domestically, internationally. Secondly, e-payment. I'm sure Minister of Finance mentioned about this, especially his prompt pay scheme. And e-payment at the local level, it is very diverse, and many players can come in. Number three, e-logistics. Now, under my ministry, we also have Thailand Postal Service, okay, which can be one spearhead to make sure that a more systematic approach to merchandise delivery at the local level can be handled, in collaboration with other business that are doing courier service. Okay, so we are seeing Thailand spreading out all these e-commerce activities everywhere. If we are successful this year, okay, next year, my intention is to make villages do it themselves, rather than us trying to, feed things to them. So, for example, we are talking about how we can have the so-called digital community shop with a manager. Okay. Now, if all these can happen, then end of this year or next year, I can create employment 24,700 positions. Who are they? They could be the vocational graduates. They could be undergraduates, and more importantly, they could be the children of the villages. It's not that difficult, because at this digital age, the digital fluency can be trained, not so difficult. So with this, then they can help the villagers and accommodate their wish to do e-commerce, to do e-health. As for e-health, the Ministry of Public Health has done a very good job for the past many decades with a very good healthcare, universal healthcare service. One aspect that I found, and I think digital can be attached nicely, is the fact that today the ministry has the so-called village health volunteers, 500,000 throughout Thailand, to help the healthcare system at the primary care level. I talked to some of them and I said, if you are better equipped with digital technology, you can do better jobs. Even the preliminary telemedicine can be conducted for the first time at ease, not so difficult anymore. And there are real cases that we can show to the public. So this is exciting. Number two, let me give you another example of what we can do very quickly. the digital community level at village level are sort of the equity policy so that we can spread the prosperity throughout the country and provide availability, accessibility, and affordability to the village. We also need to do something so that we have innovation in digital technology. So we are now at the planning stage. As you know, the government has the intention to make 3 provinces, the Eastern Economic Corridor or EEC, covering Chonburi, Chachoengsao, and Rayong. It happened that under my ministry, we have a big piece of land in Chonburi at the Sriracha district. And we are designing it so that it would become Digital Park Thailand. We will enable private sector to come in with the proper ecosystem so that they can work and innovate digitally. You know, hopefully by the end of April or May, we can settle this design with the cabinet. Next week, we will propose it to the subcommittee of the EEC, chaired by the Minister of Industry, and later on to the Prime Minister who chairs the big EEC committee. So the idea is for building an ecosystem and a community where digital companies, especially multinational companies, major Thai companies, even startups, can coexist in this environment and innovate. Some may come as research labs, some may come as development centers, some may come as a preliminary design sector type of thing. So we are hopeful that being close to the eastern seaboard, we can also be very innovative, especially in Internet of Things. There's a large manufacturing center of, for example, automotive industry. Internet of Things and automobile is the future. So Thailand can select those that we can excel. Another important point is that we also look at the whole region and not only Thailand alone. Take, for example, this digital park. If we can invite our friends from CLMV to grow together, this area is the hub of the telecommunication connectivity. All the major broadband come in through the CAT infrastructure. So all the signals that you want, all the Wi-Fi that you want, all the megabits that you want or gigabits that you want, very suitable for development of new digital technology for the region. Okay. Let me cite the last example, and that is a concept of smart cities. This provides a lot of opportunities, not only for city governors to do better with their provincial development, but also to create jobs and to invite private sector to join. We have experimented with for the past year with Phuket Island to make it smart enough so that it can facilitate tourism, to facilitate the safety of the city, to facilitate the transportation within the province. We are now extending the concept of smart city to the EEC provinces to make EEC a smart EEC as well. Okay, and this has connectivity to the digital park that I mentioned before. So a lot of excitement, and I think we are now looking into the future of Thailand through digital development in a big way. But I'm realistic enough to know that we also have to do a lot more in terms of human resource development. And we are dealing with this in a number of ways. For example, we are now designing a system whereby we can upgrade or produce 500,000 digital workforce within 5 years. 500,000 within 5 years at different levels. And certainly it cannot come with just one strategy. We have a number of strategies that we try to make it happen, including open up our society so that digital experts throughout the world can also join many of the projects or mega projects in Thailand, including inviting those gifted students who got government scholarships and come back and need high challenges, and including inviting private sector to join us in, for example, in Digital Park. Minister Apisak might have told you about the option in personal income tax in the EEC area, the 17% flat rate, for example. We will try to do more. My hope is that he would agree with me that, and this is toward my own interest, and that is for the digital workers, how about 0% personal income tax? So please whisper to him if he comes again, because digital is so quick, and I think the revenue foregone or the tax foregone is not comparable to what benefits the Thai economy or the Thai enterprises will benefit, and I'm sure we can prove that point rather easily. So innovation is very important. If I can conclude by saying that Thailand 4.0, from my own perspective, I think it should cover at least 3 pillars. Number one is for Thailand to be more innovative, okay? And I think digital technology can play a big role in getting Thailand up and running as a more innovative, innovation-oriented society. Our figures are getting better. For example, during my 2.5 years at Ministry of Science and Technology, we have jacked up the level of investment in research and development from previously 0.25% of GDP, now at the level of 0.62% of GDP. We hope that end of last year we should reach about 0.75. Okay, and it's not only the government. We also need to do a lot, and we have done a lot in order to invite private sector to do more in innovation, to do more in research and development. We have convinced over the past few years for BOI to provide maximum investment privilege to R&D activities, R&D companies, innovation activity of the companies. And I think today it's quite clear that for those companies that doing R&D, which digital companies certainly can qualify for that maximum privilege. For example, the 8-year tax haven plus 50% of the extension of 5 years, for example. And for those who are not under BOI, you can also enjoy 300% corporate income tax deduction if you do R&D expenditure, for example. So we have come a long way in terms of promoting innovation, but this time we are connecting innovation and digital together. And I think for the past 2 months that I have been speaking to both international and Thai large enterprises in the digital companies, I have hope, I have high hope that Thailand will move very fast, deploying digital for the benefit, not only for enterprises, for investment and for new business such as digital startups, tech startups, but also to provide social movement, if I may, that will enhance the quality of life of the people. Once the quality of life is better, they start looking into making money, making profit, and that way I think we will have a much larger number of players in the society. We have much larger clients, we have much larger producers, we will have much larger innovative products and services to offer, not only domestically but to the world as well, especially those that we are very good at. We always mention about how Thai startups should focus or not. And at least we can focus on tourism startups. We can focus on startup in food and agriculture. And we can focus on startups in Thai culture, for example. So all these goodies can be packaged together, and I think the environment is quite conducive for us to do more. If anything, we government for the past 2 years have been very receptive to comments from the private sector. We have done quite a lot with the Minister of Finance, and I think Minister Pisak is very receptive to development in this modern age, and see through the fact that whatever we ask, tax incentives and so on, he agreed most, if not all, of the time. It's also the fact that since there are no political parties today, it's much easier for many ministries or cross-ministry integration and common platform. For example, our e-government platform has been moving quite fast over the past year or so. And this is because of the fact that we can work together much better. The ministerial compartmental walls have been reduced drastically. So now we are being able to do a lot of platforms of integration of e-government, just deploying the fact that the Ministry of Interior, for example, can focus on the sort of single identification so that it can be cross-utilized throughout many platforms. Platform of Ministry of Finance, platform of utility organizations, platform of even how to enable the public to see a more transparent government through the e-government websites and so on. So I think situation is getting move very quickly today, and I certainly recognize the fact that government cannot go alone. We need to hear, we need to listen to the voice of the public, to the voice of the private sector, and to be able to accommodate policies that are conducive to more efficient flow. Let me close by saying that we have been concerned about vested interests or corruption, and the Prime Minister has done at least to signal very strongly about his position that it is not acceptable. So many of, and I think it's going to be all projects from today on, will have the so-called integrity pact tag along all the time. For example, laying this fiber optics throughout Thailand. Every time that there will be procurement, this integrity pact committee would follow us all the way through. And with this sort of mechanism, we are sure that we can spend each baht more efficiently, and the private sector should be more satisfied with the level playing field and the transparency. I'm not saying that everything is clean and clear, but we are trying our best to minimize all these unwanted elements in business.